Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is well. We are going to begin with the second half of Competency Goal 2, starting with Functional Area 5, which we are going to be talking about cognition or cognitive. So as you know, as we've talked about previously about what cognition is basically brain development, how the child develops in the brain, how they process information. So this is what we're going to be talking about on today. Okay. Cognitive development. What is cognitive development? If you can think back on the three domains of development that we talked about biosocial, cognitive, and psychosocial. So this is kind of in-depth information about what cognitive development really is. So I'm going to read this information as a child progresses in physical growth. It is understood that children also progress in cognitive growth as well. Cognitive growth is brain development. We do not count the number of new neurons or measure the amount of connections between synapses and come up with the average for different ages. Rather, we rely on theories. So basically, um, when we talk about brain development, as you know, brain development is basically on how the child develops in their brain, in their mind, how the mind grows, how they process information, and how a child is influenced through the um, the activities and the experiences that we give the children. These are ways that the brain grows and develops. And it's up to us to feed the child positive information to positively grow the brain in a healthy way. Okay. Now, I do have a movie on cognitive development. Um, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear it, but as you guys know, in every email, when we get homework and classwork emails, the videos will be linked in the email. So you're welcome to watch the videos. Also, some of these videos are in the live binder. So it's important also to get familiar with live binder because we do have homework and so forth with live binder. And again, some of the movies are in live binder. But overall, no worries. This video and the link here will be in your email for your homework and classwork. Now, I just put a couple of cool facts about the parts of the brain. And I'm just going to read off what I've chosen. So the average brain weighs about 1,400 grams, which is roughly 3 pounds. The brain looks a little like a large pinkish gray walnut. The brain can be divided down the middle lengthwise onto two halves called the cerebral hemispheres. I had to still say it to myself so I can get it. Each cerebral hemisphere is divided into four lobes. Okay, so these are the four lobes of the brain. Okay, so you have the frontal lobe, which is located in the front or of the central sulcus. Okay, so this is the frontal lobe, the front of the brain. And from the front of the brain, we begin to develop reasoning. Also, we begin to learn how to problem solve using our frontal lobe, parts of speech, movement, planning, and emotion. So all of those skill sets and all of those functionalities begin into the frontal lobe, which is the blue part. Okay. The parietal lobe is located behind the central sulcus, and this is this yellow part here. Okay. With the parietal lobe is concerned with the perception of stimuli, such as touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. Okay, so if you touch something hot, then your parietal lobe is in full effect. If a child, pinches his finger, um, the parietal lobe um, uh, reacts to that stimuli. Okay. Um, then you have this word is always so hard for me to say, the occipital lobe. It's located in the back of the brain behind the parietal lobe and the temporal lobe. And this is where how we see. We use vision using our occipital lobe. I know I just murdered that. I never could say this word. But yes, this is the part of the brain that um, controls our vision. Okay, I'm sorry. And then lastly is the temporal lobe. And this is auditory, our hearing. Okay, it has to do with our hearing and our memory. All right. Now, for those of you who were not in class on Saturday, we did an activity about the parts of the brain. And instead of using the original assignment is to use Play-Doh, but we use construction paper. What we did was we used 4 different colors or 5 different colors of construction paper. 4 pieces of colored construction paper will be used to create the brain. We cut out the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. All of these were different colors. And then we used a plain white sheet of paper um, to piece the parts together of the brain and create the brain. So we labeled it as well. So I also would like you guys to do that. Those of you who were not able to participate in class on Saturday, please, ma'am, please make sure that gather some construction paper, glue, scissors, and create the brain with paper. Or if you would like to do it out of Play-Doh or clay, a modeling clay, you're welcome to do that as well. It's a lot fun. It's a lot of fun. Either way, I really do love to see it on as a Play-Doh, but the paper brains are really cool too, and they came out excellent. So this is your work if you have not done this work in class or missed class and so forth. You want to take a picture of what you've done, upload it to my email so I can have that. And you also, if you do a paper brain, you can put it in your portfolio if it's big enough to fit in there, or you can take a picture and print it off, and we can put it in our portfolios. Now, Saturday we did hand out the binders and notebooks. We have to get the dividers and so forth when our next class comes around. But we did get our dividers and we got a notebook. So if you did not get that the next Saturday that we meet, then you will have that in hand. And this is just a little diagram of the parts of the brain. This is a great diagram. You can also use it in your classes or use it with your children to help them to remember the parts of the brain. So I saw this and I thought this was pretty cool. Okay. Now this next slide is just a chart in which you will see children doing different things at different age groups, and you'll see the development and the differences of development in each age group. For example, you have birth through 3 months. At this time, what do the infants do around this time? They smile, they lift their heads towards sound, they cry. And what do they need from us? They need our protection. They need motor and sensory stimulation. Now let's jump down to 7 to 12 months. Okay. What are they doing at this time? This is going into the toddler stage. Okay. They're familiar with voices. They understand their own name, common words. They sit alone, they creep, they pull themselves up, even begin walking. And then what do they need from us? They still need our protection from physical danger. They begin immunization or rehydration, hygiene, motor and sensory stimulation. So, as you can see, the differences of development on what they do and what they need from us. Some of the what they need is basically the same things in many ways, but there are differences in what they do based upon their age group and development. Okay, so this is a movie or a clip on toxic stress. What is toxic stress? Well, toxic stress is how a child or a person reacts under traumatic situations or circumstances. A lot of times, our bodies are begin to react to certain stimuli, and our brains react, of course, to certain stimuli. And sometimes we, come into negative situations and our bodies react thereof. So this is a clip on toxic stress. It is also located in your live binder. And also, it will be in your email with your work and your homework. So I'm not going to play it because I'm not really sure if you guys can hear it. So you guys will be able to access these videos there afterwards. So make sure you access all the videos within the lesson. Okay. This is just the directions on how to do another worksheet. It is the Your Body, the Brain worksheet. It is a color coding worksheet of the brain. You're going to have the worksheet and you will color code the parts of the brain, follow the directions in the worksheet, and just go from there. And then it's also a matching part of the worksheet. You go on Google, you can look up the definitions and connect the definition to the word in which the definition goes to. So it's a matching and a coloring worksheet. It's very simple. That will also be in the email as well. So you will need to upload that email and send it to me. Take a picture of it, send it to me to our class email at knowledgegiver28@gmail.com. Please do not send it to my personal email, but please send all homework/classwork to our class email. Again, it's knowledgegiver28@gmail.com. Okay. So this is our homework. First thing is, again, we will access Live Binder. Number 2, find the blue tab that reads Function Area 4 through 7. Click on the tab that says Harvard Toxic Stress. Click on that video, review the video, and then you will find another tab that says TED Talks Toxic Stress Cognitive. Click on that, look at that video. After that, you want to write a briefing, maybe 1 to 2 paragraphs about what you learned about toxic stress, and a review on the videos. And then you'll just write a short, just a short little paragraph or something, about the experiences that you may have with toxic stress, or a child or someone you know who went through toxic stress. But please do not use any names with the people. Just take, you can create fake names or just write about the experience. Okay. Again, if you have not done competency goal 1 and resource collection 1 through 3, please do so. Finish up and go ahead and submit it in. Those of you who came into class late, we will have a class extension for your work, which will be due on, I'm just going to extend it to uh, on Friday of this week. Those of you who are new to the course, um, I will just extend it to you Friday of this week, making sure that everybody, um, is able to turn in their work and, stay abreast of the class. So this means you do have double work, but you can do it. I believe in you. So again, on the 31st, Friday, those of you who are just entered the course, Friday, January 31st will be when you will have to turn in your work by 11:59 p.m. Okay. Also, piggybacking on our new homework, you guys can begin competency goal 2 and the resource collection as well. All right. Okay, so we are getting into the meat of competency goal 2, and it's very important that we understand theory of early childhood development and understand some of the theories that we um, contribute and who has contributed to the early childhood field. And so we're going to talk about a couple of theories. If you haven't heard of these theories, this is great. It'll be great information for you to learn. If you have, this will be a review, and it may add to your knowledge base to what you already know. Okay, so here we have Jean Piaget, and Piaget started the cognitive development theory. Now we give homage to Dr. Piaget because he is almost the father of early childhood, but we give homage to him because he created the model on how to observe children and how to write anecdotes to children. We model after the Piaget theory on that, a concept on that. So Piaget began later on in his career wanting to understand children, and he did that through watching his own children and his nieces and nephews and how children interact. And what he did was he would sit down and journal and watch the children in their natural environment. Okay, and so it is in early childhood. We do the same thing. When we're in our classrooms, we write anecdotes, we write observations in the natural habitat or natural environment of our children. We sit and we write notes on what we see on each child. And Piaget did the same thing. So we model after that concept of observations. Okay. Now, also, he was famous for two studies, which is the ball and the blanket. And that's almost like playing peekaboo with the child. You cover the ball and then with a blanket, and then make the ball appear, disappear, appear, disappear. And this helps the child to understand object pertinence, and the child understands the concept of things being there permanently or things going away. Okay, the next thing that he created was the 3 mountain task. And this is a study in which children understand, when children are in a stage of egocentrism. And this is from the ages 2 to 7 years old. Egocentrism is basically a stage or how the brain processes the way that children see the world. And they see the world egotistically, almost like saying, everything is mine, mine, mine. I see the world the way I see it, and so should you. Okay, so this is the way children see the world as it is in their eyes. If they see a tree, a rock, and a bird in their peripheral view, then you should just see the tree, rock, and bird. But because we see, we understand or conceptualize the world around us more in depth and more abstractly, we may see the rock, the tree, and the bird, but we also see a car. We also see a woman walking her dog. We also see, houses around, we have more of a bird's eye view versus what a child would see. They see what they see right in front of them, and that's really it. Okay. And here is just a little review on what we learned about Thursday about the three domains of human development, which is biosocial, cognitive, and psychosocial development. Okay. So, Piaget's cognitive development theory is basically our stages that each child, no matter who they are, where they come from, what cultural background, each child will go through these stages. Piaget believed that these stages are universal and that the same sequence of development occurs in children all over the world, whatever their culture. Okay. So these are the stages of development. And I've charted it for you guys to see. Let me bring the frame down a little bit. Okay, so you guys can see the whole frame. All right, so the stages of development chart. So the first is sensory motor, and this is from 0 to 2 years old. Again, this is when they begin to understand object pertinence, i.e., the ball and blanket. Okay, pre-operational 2 to 7 years old is the egocentrism. Like I was explaining, it's the mind stage, or the egocentristic or the ego stage. It's all about them, me, I. And again, this study was done by the Three Mountains study. Okay, the next one, the third one is the concrete operational, and this is through the middle child stage. This is from 7 to 11 years old. And the key feature for this is conservation. Okay, this is when children understand mathematical computation about quantity. Okay, so conservation of numbers. Okay, just for example, when you have 2 glasses of water, maybe 4 ounces of water, and you put 1 4-ounce water in a short glass, and then you have a tall glass that's 4 ounces, and you put the other glass of water in the 4 ounces, and you will ask, a child in this age group, 7 or 11 years old, or 10, 8, 9, you will ask them, which glass has the most water. Well, we know that they're both equal. But a child who is 11 and a child that is 7 might say something different. The 11-year-old may say, hey, they both are the same. It came from these glasses. They had the same amount of water. You just put one in the tall glass and the other in the short, but it's saying the amount of water. But the 7-year-old may say something totally different. They may say, oh, the tall glass has more water because it's bigger. So this is the concept of conservation of numbers. And then you will see the differences of development and how they conceptualize or understand manipulation in numbers through quantity. Okay, and the last one is formal operational, and this is from 11 years old to adulthood. This is when we begin to think abstractly and start, conceptualizing things in a more deeper level. All right. Again, this is Piaget sensory motor video, and I'm not going to play it because I'm not really sure if you guys will be able to hear it, but it is located in your email, and you will have access to this. but this will explain to you what sensory motor is. The next is Piaget's pre-operational video. And again, this is from ages 2 to 7, and you guys will have access to this. This is a concrete operational. This is a third stage, and you'll have access to this. As you can see, as I was talking about the conceptualizing and understanding quantity, this is the experiment that will be explained about concrete operational. Okay. Um, these are a reflection of the lessons. Of course, these are just little a review on what we've learned. And if you were not in class on Saturday, please make sure you write these questions down, answer them, and send them to me via email. And you can just email it to me to the class email at knowledgegiver28@gmail.com. Okay. All right, so this is our homework, okay? Um, Again, this is our homework. We will be recreating the Piaget's concrete stage. Now, the concrete stage, if you are in the preschool setting, if you have the green book, you will perform this experiment. Please make sure you perform the experiment with maybe a family member or your own children. If you're a parent, please do that. We don't want to do these experiments in the classroom. Um, for privacy purposes and things like that. But if you can find a child in the 3 to 5-year-old stage, that will be great. If you're a teacher, you guys are already doing observations in the classroom, so I think this will be okay for you to do because you're already doing observations and so forth. So, if you want to use one of your students, I think that will be great. But the parents, please, maybe use your own children or perhaps find a family or friend to do this experiment on preschool setting. And this is Piaget's concrete stage. When you watch the video, you will understand how to conduct the experiment. Okay, for the infant toddler, you will also watch the video. Now, these videos are in Live Binder. And so you can watch them again. Also, it's in your email as well that you can go back and look at these videos. But those of you who are in the infant toddler setting, parents, again, the same situation. Please use your own children or friends and family to do the experiment on. Please do not do it in the classroom. Teachers, I think it'll be perfectly okay because you're already doing observations. This will be a great way to understand Piaget's egocentrism in that manner in your classrooms. Okay, so either way, if you're a preschool setting doing the Piaget's concrete stage or the infant toddler teacher or the under the infant toddler setting and you're doing Piaget's egocentrism or pre-operational, what you guys would do is please not use the child's real name, but you will write up your observations on what you saw. Again, don't use the child's real name. Just give a short briefing on what happened when you experimented and your observations. Again, if at this point, competency goal 1 should be completed. Or if you haven't, please complete it and go ahead and submit it. And then begin on competency goal 2 and resource collection 2 as well. And don't forget to fill out your functional area worksheet. We do have a new functional areas, and now you guys have your book. And so if you go to competency goal 2 in your book, you will find the functional areas and different examples in your book, or you can come up with your own. Okay, so our next theorist is Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was a very unusual theorist. Um, he was quite abstract and weird in his theories, but they were very true. And a lot of his theories were related to human sexuality and child development. So we're not going to get into all of that, but we will get into one of his theories that is very prominent that we use every day. And it is the id, the ego, and the superego, the human psyche. And it has to do with our personalities. So the first one that we're going to be talking about is the id. Now, a lot of times you will see the id, the ego, and superego in a lot of marketing. I think Dove used to have like um the good, the devil on one shoulder, and then the a good on the other shoulder, or the angel. That is, we contribute that concept to Sigmund Freud on the human psyche, or the id, ego, or superego. So again, the first one is the id, which is something that is impulsive. We call that the devil. But it's something that we do just out of natural instinct. If a child gets mad, perhaps they may bite another child, okay? Or if a child, uh, put something in their mouth, knowing that they don't know that, hey, that shouldn't be in their mouth. It's just something that they do naturally. So, it's just an impulse. So that is what we call the id. Now, the next thing is the ego. Okay. So the ego is basically, the voice of reason, or the good. Okay, so we want to get the child from the id stage to the ego stage. And we do that through positive guidance. Okay, so if the child puts something in their mouth that they have no business, what do? We correct, we redirect and correct the child um, for what they've done. So if a child bites someone, what do? We go and run to the child's aid. Um, we tell the child why biting is not good, and we redirect them. So we're trying to get the child out of id into the ego. And again, we do that through positive reinforcement, positive guidance, and helping them to understand why, to understand the consequences, and understand why what they've done is not a good thing. Okay. And lastly, we are here at the superego. And the superego is much like the ego, except with the superego, we are learning not just about the rules and regulations within our household or within the early childhood environment, but society as a whole. We are helping children to understand, that you can't play with fire. Fire burns. Mommy says fire burns, but why does fire burn? Because fire burn can hurt you, and you can burn the house down, and then the firefighters have to come out, and then we won't have anywhere to live. So you are not just incorporating the house rules, but you're also incorporating, things what will happen outside of the house, the consequences that will happen outside of the house, and why we should not do that. Because this will affect this will affect that, and you're kind of introducing them to the domino effect, that's beyond inside their house, or beyond the early childhood environment. So again, we have the id, the ego, the superego. Has anyone ever went through these stages? Of course we have. We all have. And our children go through these stages. So this is very common. This theory, I feel, is very, very true. And again, we all experience this. Our next theorist is Yuri Bronfenbreimer. I love Yuri. I really love his theory. It's the ecological systems theory. Okay. Dr. Bronfenbrenner, he was a an American theorist, a psychiatrist, and he worked in various different colleges such as Cornell. He was in the Army. He got his doctoral work, started working in the U.S. Army, and served as a psychologist there in the Army Air Corps. So he was a well renowned theorist and psychologist here in the States. This again is a video on Dr. Bronfenbrenner's theory on the ecological systems. So I will again, of course, put it in your email and you guys will have access to that. Okay, so why the human ecosystem theory is important to you as an early childhood professional. Okay, so these are the different systems. So let's talk about the first system, which is the macro system. The macro system is a very close um, type of relationship that children have with people who are very close or have very close ties to them. This is the family structure. This is also caregivers, teachers. So we have a very close relationship with our children. Parents have a very close relationship. We are all a part of a child's microsystem. Okay. And I'll just read it verbatim. You will develop close relationships with a very close aspect of life in a child or the family or persons they have direct contact with and are bi-directional. Your reactions with persons in the microsystem will affect you in return. The most influential in the eco theory. So this is the most influential um, um, aspect of a child's life is the microsystem. We are very closely related to these children in this system. So the first system is microsystem. Okay. The next is the mesosystem. And these are connections that are between other systems. They are very closely related to the microsystem. Perhaps we are talking about people at school or at church or Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. These organizations are closely related to the child and the child's family as well. So the micro and the mesosystems work hand in hand. Okay, because a lot of times some of our neighbors are, a part of organizations that our children are in. So our neighbors are a part of our child's microsystems. So they work hand in hand. Even a babysitter, you know, anyone who's close to the family or has some type of family connection or close ties with the macro system, the mesosystem is very much closely involved as well and influential. And then you have the the exosystems, and these are again places that children interact with socially, such as the home, the daycare. Um, you know, Perhaps the mother or the parents are heavily involved in these institutions and organizations. So all three of these work hand in hand, and children are heavily involved in all three of these systems. Okay. The next system is the macro system, and these are cultural environments where people live economically or cultural values, and these have a positive and negative effect on people. So this can also be such as the government. The government plays a very big part of a child's economic um, or their livelihood. So, the decisions that they make in Congress or the government can affect a child's microsystem. For example, our president has been talking about taking away food stamps from families, from elderly people, and so forth. And so, if they take it away from the adults and the parents, then who is also affected? Our children. So the macro systems, or the decisions that we make can affect a child's macro system. And children a lot of times are voiceless, and we have to be their voice. So the decisions that we make today will affect them tomorrow. Okay. Um. Ooh. Sorry, my PowerPoint went kind of haywire there. Okay, and the last system is the Chrono system. Now, this has to do with time in a child's life, a certain time period or an event that heavily influenced a child's life, such as the death of a parent or a loved one, a special birthday, or going to visiting a new city, or going over to grandma's house. These are different events that bring some type of influence in the child life, or give them some type of experience that they can learn life's lessons on. So these are the systems in which create brought from Bremer's ecological systems. And I think this is very important as an early childhood provider, because we are in and out of these systems quite readily and quite often. And children experience these each and every day. So, this is a diagram of how the systems look. As you can see, you will be the child or yourself, even yourself. They also use Brought from Bremer's idea in social work. This idea of the economical systems is often used in many different interrelated industries. So, even you as an adult, you have a macro system, a meso, a exo, a macro, and a chrono system. Okay, and this is how the diagram looks. They're just circles within circles. So you have the smallest, and it gets larger as we extend the systems. Okay. Now, this diagram will be in your email, so you will have a chance to have this diagram, because this diagram will help you to do your classwork or your homework. And we're going to recreate the ecological system. All right. So this is the directions, creating an ecosystem diagram. So you will need scissors, glue, colored construction paper, markers, or crayons. You will create Brought from Bremer's ecological system diagram. You will need to cut out 6 circles, or you can be creative as you would like and label each level in the ecosystem. Then give a brief description of what each system means. Pretty simple. Here's an example right here. This is a former student who was creating the systems. She was using her scissors and glue and labeling and creating it. All right. Competency goal 2. And I will give you guys the homework / classwork in your email. If you have any questions about any of what you learned today, or want more information, you guys can always go to LiveBinder. And again, my office hours are from 7 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can always email me, and I'll be happy to help you guys. So this concludes our lesson, and I will see you guys on our next Thursday and Saturday class in February. All right. You guys have a great one, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.